The following are the words of Lou Civello, president of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers risk their lives to protect our communities and keep our streets safe. These officers are the thin blue line that stands between your family and the criminals that would do them harm. We are your neighbors, protecting your neighborhood. Hold the line. Support law enforcement. Stand with the Suffolk County PBA.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Schiliro, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back. Well, you think a new central air conditioning system is out of your budget? Well, think again. Sloman's is here to change the game with our preseason super sale. They're now offering cutting-edge 18-SEER 2025 refrigerant-compliant R454B systems expertly installed by our certified technician, all at the lowest prices of the year. That's right. Get started with zero down, zero payments, and zero interest. Every new installation comes with a comprehensive 5-year bumper-to-bumper service plan and annual system checks to keep your AC running smoothly all summer long. Stay cool and worry-free this summer. Don't miss out. Call Sloman's today at 631-932-7000 for your free estimate. But hurry, these cool savings won't last. That's 631-932-7000. Let's get right into it, folks. As I said, we have with us Lou Civello, and we've had Lou's on every other week. He's the president of Suffolk County PBA, as you all know. Always a lot of great topics to talk about when we have Lou on. So let's say, Lou Civello, how are you, my friend?
Good afternoon, Tom. Doing well. Always a great pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, same thing here. I know I get a lot of text messages and emails and people saying, I didn't know that. This is kind of great that our police department's involved with this and that the PBA does all of these different activities and things that are happening. You know, I have to remind you of a anniversary that came up. And actually, I found it on the PBA website. And the anniversary date, not a good anniversary, Lou Civello, April 1st, 2019. And how the PBA back then, 6 years ago, was out there fighting bail reform. And what you guys did, because that's when the Democrats brought it in to our atmosphere, and the citizens had to live with it. But more importantly, our great police officers had to live with this. And it's like, starting with the PBA and the rank and file, they all knew this was going to happen. The leadership of the PBA all knew what the mess was going to be. And even the publications like the New York Post and some other Fox News all could predict of what New York would be like in 2 or 3 or 4 years hence. We have now had to deal with this 6 years. The 6-year anniversary was just passed by, and we were thinking that at some point maybe it would be repealed. It didn't happen. The PBA on their website also identified the elected officials that saw fit to bring something like out there. And I guess I could start with the question. 6 years later, has it been the debacle that the PBAs were talking about, the organizations were talking about, criminal justice agencies were talking about, the DAs were talking about? How would you rate it at this point?
It's been a horror show, Tom. It has actually caused more damage than we ever could have anticipated. I mean, you look at any number of the catastrophes that we've had in the state since it was passed. You look at the dismembered body, right, that was dropped in the park down in Babylon, where children discovered the corpse, and then we couldn't hold those people on bail. I mean, that's just one of thousands of examples where this law has made us less and less safe. They put Band-Aids on it time and time again. You know, you would think something that you had to go back to and tweak that many times, you might realize that the whole thing was unworkable and at some point repeal it. Unfortunately, they have not done that. It has been an unmitigated disaster for New York State. And since then, they've only doubled down. As bad as it was, they've used the same playbook to pass other laws like discovery reform, which we are currently fighting. And I'm happy to say that the governor at least is digging in her heels in the budget process, where she's looking to make some changes to discovery. Right now, our DAs are at such a terrible disadvantage where these burdensome rules are placed upon them, and they have to turn over this information so quickly that we get these cases dismissed on technicalities, and criminals are walking free because the whole system is set up to make our DAs fail. And I know the governor at this point is at least trying to make some changes to that. Unfortunately, both the very progressive wings of the Senate and the Assembly are fighting her to the bitter end on that. And I truly do hope she stands her ground and makes some changes that make sense to our justice system and starts to restore some sanity to the system that we currently have.
Yeah. Now, this again, as you and I both described, this was 6 years ago, and I was reading some of what happened 6 years ago and what the organizations, the police organizations, the PBAs, and so on were saying, and I said they were right on. It's almost like you guys had a crystal ball, and you could see that. Well, there's a reason why you have a crystal ball. You live and breathe this all the time. The criminal justice system, policing in America, policing on Long Island. It's all the same. You're answering 911 calls. You're out there. You're dealing with people in distress. You're having to make arrests of some bad people that are out there. Of course, you knew what was going to happen. I guess the frustration that I'm feeling that you weren't listened to. They didn't follow through with that. They ended up passing. I remember seeing the list of Long Island legislators that went along with this. But I don't think any of them are there anymore. But again, realizing maybe the errors of their ways. But now you have, and I was a little surprised, but it's not that I didn't know it. I actually forgot that it was Andrew Cuomo that signed it into law, who is now really the front runner for mayor of the city of New York. Your thoughts on that? I mean, is he going to make this comeback in spite of this?
Yes. Well, first, I mean, we're not clairvoyant, Tom, to your point. If we were, we'd probably be working on Wall Street somewhere, but we are law enforcement professionals, right? We do see this day in and day out. And it didn't even take a professional to see what would happen when you just allow criminals not to have consequences for their actions, right? Yeah, I mean, that's really what is at the crux of this bail reform law. And we knew it would be a disaster, and it was a disaster, and it was largely spearheaded by Andrew Cuomo. His failed leadership is still having consequences for our state, whether it is our broken justice system, the fact that people lost their parents and grandparents in the COVID disaster. Instead of taking responsibility for that, he blamed nurses at the time. The sex scandals that he was involved in, you know, each and every one has had a lasting impact on our state. I can't imagine why New York City voters would want that failed leadership for mayor. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it really is an indictment of the leadership overall to say that this is the best we have in New York City. I mean, New York City has suffered time and time again, people being set on fire on subways, completely broken, criminal justice system, and I can't imagine that they want more of the same. But the polls, the polls are what they are, and somehow this individual is in the lead. So I just hope they wake up, and I hope they look for an alternative.
I just hope it's the Suffolk County PBA, Nassau PBA, New York City, all of our district attorneys under the leadership of Ray Tierney. I just hope that you folks never give up, because I think it's important, and I think you are making gains, particularly up in Albany, because I hear it all the time when we do our Albany report on Thursdays. It's not easy. Many of my listeners are a little frustrated also. They want to see these changes take place. But I think, and I want to put this out there on the air, if it wasn't for the efforts of your organization and others like that, I don't think we'd be worse off than we are right now. I want to put an optimistic tone to this whole thing, but at least the word is there. At least it's that squeaky wheel sometimes gets oiled. I think at some point, and I think you have made some gains into this sort of thing, and I think it's good. Should I have a little optimism, though, Lou?
I think so, Tom. I mean, certainly I think the pendulum is swinging. Certainly the governor digging her heels in on discovery reform is a good start. Certainly locally we've made great strides. We do have a great DA, one who aggressively prosecutes crime. We have great local elected officials like our county executive, Ed Romaine. I can tell you, Tom, we just settled a contract. So that's huge for us here in Suffolk County. In New York City, you see police officers are leaving in droves. They cannot retain. They cannot recruit. That was starting to affect us here in Suffolk County. Ed Romaine very shrewdly got in front of that, settled a contract that actually shrinks our years to top pay. So my new police officers had one of the longest slogs to top pay in the state. They were in those steps for 11 and a half years, starting at only $45,000, in many cases. That's less than a secretary makes here at the PBA office. That's where my officers were starting. Ed Romaine has raised the starting pay, shrunk the years. He also, with this contract, is putting more cops on the street here in Suffolk County. So by virtue of this new contract, our new people are going to be working some more days. That equals more cops in your neighborhood, more cops patrolling, more cops aggressively arresting criminals. We're also going to be doing some training, that critical firearms training. One of the things I always said is that, a carpenter that only uses his hammer once a year, that's not a great carpenter. And for police officers, when we use that firearm, God forbid somebody dies, right? So we should be training, and this contract is going to have us training more on our own time. So again, I thank the county executive. I thank the legislature, Tom. We actually got universal support from the legislature, so it was a unanimous decision to support our contract. And we are the first union here in Suffolk County to settle our 2025 to 2029 contract. So again, my thanks to both the county executive and the legislature. I think that is a great stride. It's a win for the police officers here in Suffolk County, but it really is also a win for the taxpayers and people who live here in Suffolk.
Absolutely. Again, I can't tell you how many times I get the praises from people call on to the show, and they praise whenever you're on or whenever we have anybody from the Suffolk Police Department on, and they talk about some of the great things they're doing. People feel good about that. This is your home. This is where you live. These are your neighborhoods. These are your streets. You want to be safe. You walk in at night and you turn on the TV and you read about these heinous crimes that are being committed all over the country. And it's not that we don't have that here, but we have it on a much lower rate because we have a great police department. We have officers that are out there that are showing that they care and that they do want a good job, and they do want, within the law, to take people off the streets. And again, that's where the legislature comes in, is at least to back up what we all need to accomplish, and that's being one of the safest. And we are. Suffolk County is one of the safest counties in the country, as is Nassau.
Yeah.
I think Nassau was rated number 1. And I think a lot of that has to do with our officers. To me, I've always said this. It's something you just said. The more cops you have on the street, the less crime you have. I mean, I think it goes hand in hand. Your thoughts?
I think it does. And I think you have a police force out here that's not afraid to take action. We have a vested interest. Most of us live here. You look at what's going on with our roads. We had Officer Brendan Gallagher almost killed, the street takeovers. We've taken aggressive action, Tom. I can tell you, again, from the county executive to our police commissioner, Kevin Catalina, it really is a master class in leadership and good government. So since we had those incidents occur, we started a task force that is laser focused on eradicating these street takeovers. We've also now added more highway patrol officers. So because of the hiring that County Executive Romaine did, we are now adding an additional sector on Sunrise Highway and an additional sector on the Long Island Expressway, those major roadways, those arteries that we use to get to and from New York City, in and out of this county on Long Island. You're going to see more police officers there. Our legislature, working hand in hand with us, passed a local law that's going to make it easier for us to take those cars. So if you're out there doing 100 miles an hour in one of these street takeovers, not only are you going to be arrested, but we're going to take your car and we are going to crush it. And then again, our DA, who is a partner, who is aggressively prosecuting these cases. So again, this is just effective leadership. It's every branch of government working together, and a police force that is not afraid to take action. We're going to protect this county. This is our home.
I can't underscore that anymore. One of the things, County Executive Ed Romaine is a regular on our program, just like you are. He comes on. And one of the first things he brings up is the police and the great job that they're doing, and the fact that they were going to do everything they could, particularly in the contract that you guys negotiated, and to make it more viable, to give our officers what they need. First of all, a living wage. $45,000 is not a living wage in Suffolk County. So again, to finally at least amend that provision. But beyond that, the training that we're talking about, more highway patrol. I know one of his campaign issues was more detectives. So it was all about policing. That's why when I look at other so-called executives, you don't have to be called county executive, you could be called mayor or whatever, county commissioners and so on, all across their country. There's more anti-policing administrators, whether it be it county executives or mayors or commissioners and so on, than there are Ed Romaines. I think we're very lucky here, when it comes down to the support that we have for public safety. Lou?
Oh, absolutely. Just look at Rochester, Tom. That's somewhere where hopefully I'm going to travel in the near future because I think Tom Homan is going to be making a trip up there, the director of the Border Czar. Look at the mayor up there where you had ICE agents. So these are law enforcement officers who are calling for help, dealing with volatile situations, multiple people, multiple, assailants that they're potentially dealing with. And they call for help, and the local police department goes, and the mayor then looks to discipline the police officers for going. I mean, that is the cardinal rule, where if another law enforcement officer calls, you go to help. I mean, that's rule number one when it comes to law enforcement. And they're making these jobs impossible across the state. And in stark contrast, here in Suffolk County, our executive has our back. He wants this county to be safe. He ran his campaign on making Suffolk safe, and he has certainly come through and kept that promise and that pledge.
That's a perfect example, by the way, that Rochester example. And maybe we in Suffolk County, and I'll put this out to my listeners, maybe we become too complacent because we're used to this. We're not used to the craziness that's going on outside our area here, the Long Island area. People love the police here. They like the job that they're doing. And we could live in that harmony, that public safety harmony that's so important. But you don't have to go that far. As you say, Rochester, that was a perfect example. And as long as we keep electing the good people, the people that think, in terms of the common sense we're talking about, I did want to bring this up with you. Nassau County looks like they're about, one of my pet peeves, you know what it is these First Amendment auditors and how they bother our police. I don't know how I would have put up with it back in the day. If I had somebody coming right up to me and start, cursing and making fun of your family members and so on while you're trying to do a job. Nassau, I guess Bruce Blakeman's going to sign this zone of protection bill in Nassau County. It's passed by the legislature. It'll be a county bill, similar to the HALO law in the state of Florida, that if you come too close to first responders doing their duties of what they're supposed to do, so that you can post on YouTube and monetize your channel, whatever the hell else you're doing, that they'll make that a misdemeanor, $1,000 fine with possible jail time and so on. It looks like that's going to pass in Nassau if it hasn't already. Can we get something like that done here in Suffolk County?
Yes, I would certainly be supportive of that. I think many of our legislators would be supportive of that. You have these auditors who are professional antagonists. So their whole purpose is to draw the police officer into some sort of confrontation and try to make it, go viral on social media. They are buffoons. They are obstructing us from doing our jobs in many cases. And it shouldn't just be police officers, Tom. First responders is a great way to author that law. If you're interfering with an EMS person, if you are interfering with someone from the fire department, if you're doing any of that for the purpose of likes and clicks, you belong in handcuffs. And there should be a law to protect our police officers, our first responders, and enable them to do their job. Being a professional antagonist should not be a thing. And I certainly am supportive of that law in Nassau, and I would hope that we could get something like that here in Suffolk County.
And any way that I could help, please let me know. I see this as something that needs to be done, even if we just started in Suffolk County and Nassau County, like Nassau County legislature is doing. At least the legislatures in both these counties are not permeated by left-wing radicals that we see in Albany. And they would never pass anything like this because they're more of a pro-criminal type of legislature that they have, and they are taking place like that. I'd love to see something like this. And I do want to put an aside that these auditors, so to speak, they say they're working for you, which is, of course, the biggest ruse going. They're there to monetize the channel. They're there to make money off of belittling and berating our police department and interfering with their duties. And I want to make that editorial to put that out there. And also, I've done many studies into this. Most of them, the ones with the brazen and the boldest ones, are the ones that all have criminal records. So figure that one out, folks. They've been in jail, and now they come out. So who are they going to go after? They're going to go after the protectors of society, and that's our police officers. And I think they need to be exposed. You know, Lou?
Couldn't agree more, Tom. They do not work for the people. I mean, the idea of that is a joke. They are the antithesis of that. They are there to attack your police officers, attack the people who are out there protecting you, distract them for what their mission is. Our mission should be out there to be locking up criminals and keeping the county safe, and instead they're dealing with these idiots. I couldn't agree more, Tom. We need to put a stop to it.
Yeah, again, when one thinks about it and how important this is, and I'm hoping that the monetizing of a YouTube channel should not make a police officer be distracted. That's the worst thing that you can possibly imagine. And I will use this forum every single day that I can to put it out there, because we do have some on Long Island. I'm not mentioning his name anymore because he irks me to the 10th. Believe it or not, we're out of time, Lou Civello. Thanks for coming in today. President of Suffolk County PVA with us every other week. Certainly do appreciate it. Stay safe, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we get back, let's talk to Suffolk County District Attorney, Assistant Chief Alan Bodie, coming right up.